The voice on the phone stopped Michael Dawson's heart mid-beat. "Hello, Michael. Starting Monday, I'll be heading your department." 10 years had passed since he last heard that voice, Sarah's voice, the woman he once called his wife. Michael clutched the edge of his desk in the Chicago headquarters of Meridian Technologies. The quarterly reports scattered across his workspace suddenly meant nothing. His mouth went dry. "Sarah? Sarah Miller? It's Sarah Reeves now," she corrected him. The confidence in her tone sent chills down his spine. "I'm replacing David as regional director. I thought you deserved a courtesy call before the official announcement tomorrow." The office around him continued its Friday afternoon bustle, but Michael's world screeched to a halt. How could this be happening? The last time he saw Sarah, she was standing in the rain outside their apartment building, 5 months pregnant. Tears streaming down her face, begging him to reconsider. "I'll see you Monday morning, 9 a.m. sharp. We'll be conducting department reviews all week." Her voice remained steady, professional, betraying none of the history between them. As the call ended, Michael stared at his reflection in the darkened computer screen. At 42, the lines around his eyes had deepened, and threads of gray sprouted at his temples. His successful career had become his life, his identity. Now Sarah, the woman he'd thrown away along with his chance at fatherhood, held his professional future in her hands. Michael canceled his dinner plans that night. Instead, he drove past their old neighborhood in Lincoln Park, where memories haunted every corner. The upscale cafe where they'd spent Sunday mornings, the park bench where he'd proposed, the apartment building where, a decade ago, he made the worst mistake of his life. 10 years earlier, life looked completely different for both of them. Michael had just landed a junior management position at Meridian, his first real break after years of climbing the corporate ladder. Their tiny one-bedroom apartment served as both home and battlefield during those stressful months. "I can't believe you're doing this now," Michael shouted that fateful night, rain pounding against the windows. "We agreed to wait 5 years before having kids. This ruins everything." Sarah stood in their kitchen, one hand protectively over her swollen belly. At 27, her dream of becoming a mother had arrived unexpectedly, but she'd embraced it wholeheartedly. "I didn't plan this either, Michael, but it's happening," she countered, fighting to keep her voice steady. "We'll figure it out together." The argument escalated when Sarah revealed she'd declined a transfer opportunity, one that would have separated them for months, but accelerated Michael's career advancement. "You're sabotaging my future," he spat, knocking over a chair. "First this pregnancy, now turning down the Cleveland project without even discussing it with me?" Their neighbors later reported hearing shattering glass and shouting that continued for hours. By midnight, Sarah found herself standing on the sidewalk, a hastily packed suitcase at her feet, locked out of her own home. "You want the baby? Fine, but I don't want either of you," were Michael's final words through the barely cracked door before the deadbolt slid into place. That night, Sarah checked into the Lakeside Motel with just $237 to her name and a business degree she'd never completed. Her parents had passed years earlier, and her friends, mostly couples she'd known through Michael, stopped returning her calls within weeks. As she curled up on the lumpy motel mattress, rain still drumming against the windows, Sarah made a promise to herself and her unborn child. "We don't need him. We'll build something better." The first year tested everything Sarah had. Her daughter Emma arrived 8 weeks premature, tiny but fighting. During those endless nights in the NICU, Sarah completed online classes beside the incubator, her laptop perched on her knees. "Your mommy's got grit," whispered Nurse Gladys. an older woman who slipped Sarah hospital cafeteria sandwiches during her overnight vigils. Most folks would have broken by now. Sarah juggled 3 jobs: morning shifts at a downtown coffee shop, evening receptionist at a dental office, and weekend data entry she completed from Emma's hospital room. Sleep became a luxury she couldn't afford. The turning point came when she served coffee to Eleanor Walsh, CEO of Rivetech Industries, a rising competitor to Meridian. The executive left her business card with a note: "Anyone who memorizes 50 regular customers, orders while taking night classes, has the mind I need in my company. Call me." Starting in the mailroom at Rivetech, Sarah absorbed everything. Within 18 months, she moved to customer service, then account management. Each promotion came with flexibility for Emma's doctor appointments and school events. "You remind me of myself," Eleanor told her during a late strategy session after Sarah proposed a solution that saved a major account. Hungry, resourceful, and twice as prepared as the men in the room. Meanwhile, across town, Michael's life followed a different trajectory. His dedication to Meridian earned him steady promotions and a corner office by 35. Colleagues described him as brilliant but difficult, a man who lived for work and kept relationships superficial. "Dawson's great with numbers, but terrible with people," became the office assessment. 2 short-lived relationships ended when women sensed Michael's emotional walls wouldn't budge. What Michael never knew: Sarah occasionally spotted him from afar, at industry conferences or through restaurant windows during client dinners. Each sighting strengthened her resolve. "That man taught me what I'm capable of," Sarah told Eleanor during her final interview for the regional director position at Meridian. "And now I'm ready to show him." Monday morning arrived with unbearable tension. Michael arrived early, his custom-tailored suit feeling suddenly too tight around the collar. He'd spent the weekend obsessively researching Sarah's career trajectory, finding only fragments: her MBA graduation announcement, a business journal mention of her role in Rivetech's expansion, her LinkedIn profile showing a meteoric rise. At 8:57, the elevator doors opened. Sarah stepped out. Flanked by 2 executives from corporate headquarters, the decade had transformed her. Gone was the soft-spoken woman who once accommodated his every mood. This Sarah commanded attention with her posture alone. "Conference room in 3 minutes," she announced to the gathered department heads, her eyes meeting Michael's briefly. Not a flicker of emotion crossed her face. The presentation that followed stunned everyone. Sarah outlined Meridian's acquisition of Rivetech, a reverse takeover orchestrated by Eleanor Walsh and Sarah herself. "Michael, could you walk us through last quarter's projections?" she asked, 30 minutes into the meeting. His hands trembled slightly as he distributed reports. When their fingers brushed during the exchange, he dropped a folder, scattering papers across the polished table. "Nervous, Michael?" she asked, quietly enough that only he could hear. That afternoon, she summoned him to what had been David's office, now hers. The room had already transformed with Sarah's touch. Gone were the golf trophies and cigar humidor, replaced by clean minimalism and a single photograph facing away from visitors. "You wanted to speak with me?" Michael stood awkwardly in the doorway. "Close the door." Sarah gestured to the chair across from her desk. "We need to discuss your position within the restructure." Michael's heart pounded. "Is this personal? Because if it is, this is business," she cut him off. "But since you mentioned personal matters," Sarah turned the photograph around. A smiling girl with Michael's eyes and Sarah's smile looked back at him. "This is Emma. She's 9 years old, your daughter." The room seemed to tilt sideways. "I have a daughter? All this time?" Michael whispered. "Yes, And starting today, you work for the mother of the child you abandoned. For days, Michael moved through the office like a ghost. Colleagues noticed his distraction during meetings, the dark circles under his eyes, the way he stared at his phone's new background, a photo of Emma that Sarah had reluctantly shared. "You can meet her," Sarah had said, "but on my terms. She doesn't know about you yet." In his apartment each night, Michael pored over Emma's school reports and photos Sarah provided. 9 years of birthdays, Halloweens, and Christmas mornings he'd missed. The collection of gymnastics medals, the science fair ribbons, the gap where her front teeth should be. Sarah maintained strict professionalism at work, but the walls between them cracked during a late budget meeting when everyone else had left. "Why didn't you tell me?" Michael finally asked, his voice breaking. "I had a right to know." Sarah's careful composure faltered. "A right? You surrendered any rights the night you chose your career over your family." Her hands trembled as she gathered spreadsheets. "For years, I checked the mail hoping for child support, a birthday card, anything. Emma asked about her father until she was 7, then stopped. That silence hurt worse than any question." Michael reached for her arm. "Sarah, I was young, selfish, terrified. So was I." Her voice echoed through the empty conference room. "The difference is I didn't have the luxury of walking away." The following Saturday, at a neutral playground in Millennium Park, Michael met Emma for the first time. Sarah introduced him only as Mr. Dawson, Mommy's colleague. Emma's scrutiny felt more intense than any boardroom evaluation. "You work for my mom. She's the boss of everyone," she declared proudly, showing him how high she could climb on the monkey bars. "Yes, she certainly is," Michael agreed, his throat tight with emotion. As Emma ran ahead to the swings, Sarah watched Michael's face. "She has your stubborn streak and analytical mind," she offered. "Last week, she created a spreadsheet to convince me she deserves a dog." For the first time in 10 years, they shared a genuine laugh, brief, surprised, and tinged with what might have been. 3 months of careful navigation transformed more than just Meridian's organizational chart. Sarah's leadership revitalized the Chicago office with a 30% productivity boost, though many employees privately complained about her exacting standards. Michael threw himself into work with renewed purpose, not for the corner office or year-end bonus, but to prove something deeper. To himself, to Sarah, to the daughter he'd only just met. His Saturday mornings shifted from solitary runs along Lake Michigan to museum adventures and pizza joints with Emma. "Can I ask you something important?" Emma questioned one day, methodically arranging pepperoni slices into perfect circles on her deep dish. Michael nodded, still amazed by how she furrowed her brow exactly like Sarah when concentrating. "Are you really just Mom's work friend? Because Zoe at school says you look like me." The question froze him mid-bite. They'd agreed to wait, to build trust before revealing the truth. But Emma's perceptive eyes, his eyes, demanded honesty. That evening, in Sarah's cozy Oak Park living room, they finally told Emma everything. Not the harsh details, but enough truth for a 9-year-old to understand that sometimes adults make terrible mistakes, and some journeys take unexpected detours before finding the right path. Emma listened with surprising calm, then asked only one question. "So when you give me gymnastics tips, it's because you're actually my dad?" "Yes," Michael answered, his voice barely steady. "But I'm still learning how to be one." Emma nodded solemnly. "That's okay. Mom says everybody's always learning something." She hugged him briefly before heading upstairs to finish homework. After Emma's bedroom light went out, Sarah and Michael sat in the kitchen, the weight of a decade between them. "I never thought we'd be here," Sarah admitted, cradling her tea. "When I took this position, Part of me wanted revenge. I deserved whatever you planned, Michael replied. Sarah shook her head. That's what I realized these past months. Revenge doesn't heal anything. She looked toward Emma's room. She needs both of us, not our battlefield. As Michael prepared to leave, Sarah handed him an envelope. Inside sat an old photograph from their first apartment, young and foolish, arms wrapped around each other, full of dreams neither could have predicted. We can't go back, Sarah said, watching him study the image. But maybe we can build something new, something better. The family they might have been was gone forever. In its place stood three individuals with scars and wisdom, learning to form connections stronger than the ones they'd broken. As Michael walked to his car under a canopy of stars, he understood that some second chances arrive a decade late, and those are the ones you cherish most. After all, true transformation never follows a straight line. Sometimes it takes 10 years, a career reversal, and the wisdom of a 9-year-old to show adults the road to redemption was there all along, just waiting for them to find the courage to take the first step.